Greetings, I'm back. And judging by the mess I see, it would appear that things have gotten rather out of hand in my absence now, wouldn't it? As of now, I am personally taking command.
He's back.
Hunter x Hunter wrecked videos.
That bastard's still alive? Where is he? Which side will he attack us from? Salute His Excellency,
Hunter x Hunter wrecked videos.
What's good? Damn, has it really been 2 years? Feels like yesterday that I unleashed the wrath of my 15-inch cock upon the Hunter x Hunter standum. Long story short, I got a job that summer and had zero time to make videos, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I'll ever be a frequent uploader. Anyways, with that out the way, onto the video. Yes, you read the title correctly, but before you click the dislike button, who am I kidding, you already did. Still, before you click it, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying Meruem is a trash character, but is somewhat highly overrated. Meruem, in my opinion, is not some god-tier character or antagonist. I've seen countless times where the fandom has referenced his character development being superior to even Zuko's, which is just absurdly laughable.
You serious?
The reason I'm comparing him to Zabuza is because, for what it's worth, they are quite similar. Let me clarify that. The bare-bones skeletal structure of their character is the same. A bad guy who turns somewhat good, or becomes somewhat more human, because of a little girl. I mean, Haku's a boy, but still. He would definitely get rage fucked, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, both characters even end up dying together with their companion. I want to establish something. Something I feel is indicative of Hunter x Hunter as a whole. A lot of times I see fans end up writing the story or characters for Togashi because, in reality, there's just not much going on there. A big example of this is Gon. There is no reason to have a 25-minute long video about fucking Gon. I'm sorry, but the little guy is not that deep. Now I do believe in the death of the author, but at some point it just gets ridiculous. At some point you end up writing the story for the author, and that's where I draw the line. Anyways, Meruem slightly falls into that realm. Meruem is not as complex of a character as people make him out to be. I really wouldn't describe him as complex at all. Nor is he exceptionally multi-layered. Especially Komugi. And next is Zabuza, a character with a similar arc, he's far less complex of an individual. So for starters, let's look at the relationship between both Meruem and Komugi, and Zabuza and Haku. Hands down, Haku curb stomps Komugi as a character. Komugi is nothing more than a plot device for Meruem's growth. Conceptually, I acknowledge what's going on between her and Meruem, but their relationship is just not real. If anything, it's surface level at best, which, for a god-tier character, is a little questionable. Yes, chess playing is a rather intimate activity when you think about it, but it pales in comparison to what we see Haku and Zabuza do. We saw Zabuza adopt and mentor Haku, we saw the two fight together, we saw Haku tend to Zabuza's wounds and stand up for him.
Some Jonin, the unbeatable ninja, just got beat, limping back home like some pathetic has-been. Demon of the hidden mist. More like coward of the hidden mist.
Keep your filthy hands off of him.
You're gonna break it!
For God's sake, Haku saved Zabuza's life when he was in over his head and created an elaborate lie, masquerading as an Anbu, in order to do so. Their relationship is, dare I say, symbiotic. As far as Meruem and Komugi, we don't really get much from them as a couple. The extent of their interactions really just boil down to playing chess together. Mind you, they have very insightful moments while playing chess, and I don't want to belittle that, but on the other hand it really doesn't seem like Komugi is aware of who or what Meruem even truly is. Haku obviously is aware of Zabuza and what he's doing, albeit due to indoctrination, but Komugi comes off as completely oblivious to Meruem's true nature.
これで許す。
腕を治療します。奥へ。
対局を続ける。
Is she okay with Meruem's general disregard for human life, or his apathetic and aggressive nature towards those around him?
対局を続ける。
総帥様のお怪我が治るまで打ちません。
What?
Or his superiority complex? It really doesn't seem like she knows him. This is why I say she's really just here as a device for Meruem's growth. Okay, fine. So why does this even matter? Well, because of the payoff in the end. When they die together, it's touching, sure. But I can't help but think of this as a one-sided relationship, with Meruem being the only one that truly cared. Like, I get that Komugi is pretty much all that Meruem's ever known given his short lifespan, but what makes Meruem so special in Komugi's book? Why is she okay with him poisoning her? Why is she okay with just dying like what the fuck? As a matter of fact, let's talk about the death of both sets of characters real quick. I don't understand why Meruem dying is supposed to be this sweet, delicate, sad moment. The moment in and of itself was certainly portrayed that way, but when you think about it, Meruem dying was a good thing. You should sigh a breath of relief at the fact that he's gone. During his fight with Netero, he had a change of heart, if you can even call it that, and suggested that humans coexist with the ants, albeit while still under Meruem's control.
What?
Yeah, fuck that. Get that shit out of here. So why are we supposed to feel bad that he died? In comparison, Zabuza admitted his faults. He recognized where he was wrong and understood that he didn't deserve Haku. He took advantage of Haku's desperation and kindness and turned him into a tool, something he clearly regretted as he was dying. All of this stuff, by the way, can be reasonably concluded without having to make a 25-minute-long video, without having to reach. So while the moment of Meruem's death is cool in and of itself, there's really no reason to feel any sympathy for him.
Fuck him.
So by combining that and the previous shit I said about Komugi, it really undercuts the whole payoff we get with the two of them dying. I understand that Komugi and Haku play different roles next to their companion, by the way. Komugi, as I said, is there for Meruem's growth, whereas Haku is more of a foil to Zabuza and is a representation of Zabuza's bad influence on an otherwise innocent child. I must reiterate that this does not mean that Komugi or the relationship between her and Meruem is trash, just not god tier, or as masterful as people make it out to seem. And even as I understand what's going on conceptually, it doesn't blow my socks off, let's keep it real. Now focusing on Meruem himself, I don't quite understand the consensus of his development, the consensus being that it's some of the best development of any villain in anime, or is at least top 5. This is just nonsensical, to be honest. Meruem is quite one-dimensional. Okay, I'm being hyperbolic, but he's somewhat linear in terms of progression. There's really no nuance to his character, and he does pretty much everything I expected him to do. It's clear that he's taken a liking to Komugi, and not much is left up to ponder given his scenes of internal monologues. We know what Meruem's thinking at pretty much every moment. Let me explain. Meruem is for the most part an apathetic motherfucker. He can be aggressive when he doesn't get his way and pretty much disregards anyone else's feelings or safety. But why? His apathetic nature towards those around him is again surface level. It really boils down to I am more powerful than those around me, so I don't care about them.
命を意味なく積んだだとしたらなんという強さ暴力こそこの世で最も強い力
Contrast this with a character from Invincible. Mark's little brother, Oliver, is pretty apathetic towards humans. He can be brash at times and blunt about his feelings towards humans in particular, and even speaks of touchy things like death with very little empathy. He finds humans to be disorderly, and even finds most humans to be sexually unattractive. This is all due to his alien heritage and upbringing. Oliver's mom, unlike his Viltrumite father, is a grotesque alien with a lifespan of maybe a year, and that's pushing it. Because of their short lifespan, her species adapted over a long period of time and is able to remember everything since their births, and Oliver is no different. Also, given their short lifespan, death is so common amongst them that it's painfully regular to Oliver. He's seen many of his species die before he even turned 1 year old and remembers it. Also, the story makes a point to show how his increased rate of aging has caused him to mature faster than his peers, and as a result, has costed him much needed years of development and social interaction in order to properly empathize with other children around his age. This all aids my point in saying Oliver's apathetic nature towards humans is much more multifaceted than Meruem's. Meruem's apathetic attitude, if anything, is really just a given, to be honest, especially in comparison to Oliver. Not to mention, because he looks up to his superhero older brother, Oliver is constantly at odds given that he actually does want to do good despite his recklessness and apathetic beliefs, and despite the fact that he's the son of someone who caused tremendous damage to the very planet he's trying to protect, while at the same time being the savior of the planet Oliver was born on. That inherently puts him in an unorthodox, complex position. That is complexity, that is multi-layered. So for a god-tier character, Meruem sure is getting away with these surface layer qualities. One of the biggest shortcomings of Meruem's character, in my factual opinion, is that we never truly get to see Meruem in action. Before his death, we don't see him enact, or go through with any plan, or actually rule over any other part of the world besides his own secluded kingdom. Along with this, Meruem has no reference point for anything given the fact that he's only been alive for like 3 days. I don't get what's so complex about him taking a liking to community when I consider that he hasn't even talked at length with many people. He hasn't even experienced enough turmoil to have his worldview challenged. His taking a liking to community was statistically inevitable. There's nothing he has to overcome other than his own personal superiority complex that he really has for no reason, as opposed to Zabuza, who endured years of inculcation from a village known for its ruthless and brutal practices. That is why I say he is simplistic.
総帥様のお名前は何とおっしゃられるのですか？
世は何という。
Oh my god, he doesn't know what his name is.
What?
Like, who gives a shit, honestly? I really can't help but be dismissive of this, as it just doesn't hold any weight for real. When he learns his name, do we see any profound, meaningful shift in his character? Does it humble him in any way? That doesn't seem to change him in the slightest. Do not let Meruem's reserved demeanor and intelligence fool you into believing he's this top-tier next-level complex character. His intelligence, might I add, is surface level as well. We don't see anything beyond just a smart guy performing feats of intelligence. I'll explain this more in depth in a little bit. But before I do that, we must first talk about this so-called utopia of his, where the very concept of inequality doesn't exist for a second.
狂気の沙汰だ。世が壊してやる。そして与えよう。平等とは言えぬまでも、理不尽な差のない世界を。
If anyone dares to make a case that this is somehow representative of any type of redemption or a sign goodness, then you're retarded, I'm sorry. Once again, do not be fooled by his words.
世は何のために力を使うかを学習した。弱く、しかし生かすべきものを守るためだ。敗者を虐げるためでは決してない。
Cool. But let's not forget Meruem concedes that he will use his power to accomplish said goal of his. By that, he means killing any and all those who oppose him and forcing those who resist into subservience, these people being guys like Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio. These guys would most definitely oppose someone like Meruem, seeing as in order to accomplish his goal, it could mean hurting people close to them.
Yes. It's wrong to initiate force of any kind on anyone, and omnipotent moral busybodies are not any different. I think C.S. Lewis said it best when he said, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep, his cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. Give people information and truth, but let them make their own mistakes, but also let them suffer for them. That's the only way they'll start making better choices. But to force good onto people is arrogant and presumptuous, and you have no right to do so. And consider also that good is subjective. What if I decided that I wanted to force my own rendition of good onto you? I think it's in your best interest, but you don't. Do I have a right to do it anyway? Because it's good? You wouldn't be very happy about me forcing my good onto you, so don't force yours onto anyone else, no matter how much it pains you to see them going down a path that may lead to pain for them. If they aren't hurting anyone but themselves, let them be.
Yes, they did see. They saw the ugliness of violence as a solution, and it frightened them. It frightened me too when I decided to cross that line and do what you do. It's so easy. Anger. Vengeance. Luckily, I'm not you, and I never will be.
Hell, maybe Gon would resist, but Killua wouldn't, thus creating an interesting duality between the two, highlighting their differences. Do you see where I'm going with this? There is incredible potential for story here that, in my opinion, would serve the fundamental concept of this arc far better than what we got, that concept being that Gon loses his humanity, while Meruem gains his. And humanity's potential for malice etc. It would call into question everything we believe to be human and moral. Now to expand on my earlier point about Meruem's intellect being surface level. The reason I say this is because there's no deeper significance to Meruem's intellect beyond performing extraordinary feats of intelligence. Those feats being things such as him outsmarting Netero in a fight, learning intricate board games in a matter of minutes, and besting the champions of each respective game, and full acquisition and mastery of a language only seconds after birth. He's undeniably a genius. But what does this mean to him? How does it affect him? Take Shikamaru for example. Shikamaru is characterized by his intellect throughout the series because it's juxtaposed with his lazy and aloof demeanor. The show plays into this by putting him in charge of the Sasuke retrieval squad, thus forcing him to step up to the plate and address his shortcomings as an underachiever and to use his intelligence to its full potential. It is noted multiple times that if Shikamaru just applied himself, he could be a great ninja. The way this could have been done in Meruem's case is through his means of achieving his utopia. Clearly Meruem is a logical being. So, imagine he's going about his plan, and he's killing loads of people in the process. Had there been dialogue between him and Komugi, she would point out that while his way of achieving said utopia may be logical, it is completely devoid of empathy. She could point out how his genius mind has left him unable to empathize with those less gifted than himself, much like another invincible character I know. This would force Meruem to reconsider his methods, with Meruem of course angry and in denial, while Komugi comforts him, encouraging him to indulge in his emotions, as well as others' emotions. This could cause Meruem to shed his superiority complex and, hell, possibly deem himself unworthy of his position as king. But by this time, it's too late, and Gon isn't having it, having abandoned Killua and his friends, ignoring any good that Meruem has done, albeit at an irreparable cost. Imagine Gon actually loses his humanity by killing Komugi himself, just to spite Meruem. Imagine Meruem fucking crying for God's sake. There's so much more potential that this entire arc had, but I'm straying off topic. Point is, Meruem's intellect is yet again another surface-level trait tacked onto his character. By the time of his death, he's still a deadpan psychopath who hasn't progressed nearly as much as people make it out to seem. Better character development than Zuko, LMAO, don't make me fucking laugh. In comparison, Zabuza is much more complex. Zabuza's intellect and talent, though not as impressive as Meruem's, is much more telling of his character than in Meruem's case, given his backstory. We know early on what Zabuza has been put through, having slaughtered an entire academy's graduating class before he was even a student. We understand the harsh environment that he's endured that caused his rough exterior and cold emotions, given that he hails from a village known for its brutal practices. Meanwhile Meruem is just cold because reasons. And yet, despite all that, he takes a liking to this innocent boy, and he himself isn't even sure why. Remember, by the time he adopts Haku, Zabuza had already shut himself off from the world and was set in his ways. This screams complexity in my opinion. All these factors come together to clash with one another. As a viewer, I'm constantly asking myself, what truly is going on inside that head of his? Is he lying to himself when he tells Haku stuff like,
"But I warn you, friendship, comfort, encouragement, I do not need these things, nor should you expect them from me."
If he is indeed lying, then why is he willing to just cut right through him like this?
He'd hack
right through the boy to take me down?
I knew I'd found a treasure when I'd found you, boy. You've not only given me my life, but Kakashi's as well.
If he was going to kill him anyways, why is he staggered all of a sudden from the mere sight of Haku's dead corpse?
Kakashi! I'd stay focused if I were you. Why can't I keep up with him? Look at you. You're falling apart.
Was he bluffing the whole time? Zabuza is constantly at war with himself, fighting an internal battle against his emotions until finally, those repressed emotions from a harsh upbringing, years of brutal mercenary work, and love for Haku all come crashing out.
Your words cut deep. Deeper than any blade. Well, cat got your tongue. Are you so surprised to discover that I'm human?
And even as he finally admits this to himself, he recognizes that it's too late to reverse the damage that he's done, and the only thing he can do at this point is sacrifice himself in order to right what little he can. In doing so, he fully comes to terms with who he is and accepts not only his place in the world, but his punishment.
I won't be joining Haku. Where he's gone, I cannot follow. We wouldn't be welcome where Haku's gone to. Hell's where we're going, Gato! I can't think of a more fitting destination for a demon ninja, can you? I'm told there are many demons down there, of all shapes and sizes. Oh yes, I should fit right in.
This right here. This display of self-awareness alone is vastly more complex and cathartic than anything that you can take away from Meruem. At this point in the series, Zabuza was to Naruto a prime example of the harsh reality that is the shinobi world. The life of a shinobi isn't as noble and glamorous as Naruto makes it seem. Just as Haku is a tool of Zabuza, Zabuza is merely a tool of the shinobi world. All of this, might I add, is displayed very thoroughly by the show, and I don't have to dig deep to the point where I'm writing the character for Kishimoto either. I really hope I'm not selling Meruem short. Please believe me guys, that is not my intention. Meruem is a genuinely fine character indeed, and this video isn't to say that absolutely nothing complex or grand can be extrapolated from Meruem, but if I'm keeping it 100,
this bitch is not all that.
But might I just add, isn't it crazy how you're considered to be high IQ for liking Hunter x Hunter, but a sub-50 IQ retarded faggot for liking Naruto these days, yet one of Naruto's first antagonists is rivaling Hunter x Hunter's greatest? LMAO. The Hunter x Hunter stanbase is nothing but a bunch of pseudo-intellectuals who bend their asses over at anything the show does.
You know, it's not fucking rocket science, this stuff.
Don't let them convince you that they're smarter than you.
I've been bucked up about this bitch. This bitch is regular. I don't give a fuck what no nigga say. This bitch regular, man. Either somebody was fucking lying. I don't know, but this bitch regular, man.